So Anthropic just released Claude Sonnet 4.5. It's a significant jump forward. Let me show you the headline. You might have seen this research out of Meter Research that measures AI's ability to complete long tasks. So as you can see here, this is how long a task would take a human to do. Right, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, right? And over time, the different AI models, how capable are they of completing the task that would take, for example, 1 hour for a human being to do? So as you can see here, there's a rapid exponential increase. By the way, the people behind AI Village, so the AI Digest people, they are suggesting that this is even faster more recently, meaning that the trend is accelerating even faster than this chart shows. But as you can see here, for example, O3 and Grok 4, they're able to complete tasks that would take a human being between an hour and a half and 2 hours to do. GPT-5 is even further, right? So past 2 hours. Now, based on this chart, where would you expect Claude 4.5 Sonnet to land? I mean, if you were betting, you'd probably bet somewhere past GPT-5, maybe around GPT-5, right? Well, you'd be just a little bit off. Let's just say that. Here's an article from The Verge. Anthropic releases Claude Sonnet 4.5 in a latest bid for AI agents and coding supremacy. It can run autonomously for 30 hours straight per Anthropic. Anthropic's latest AI model spent 30 hours running by itself to code a chat app akin to Slack or Teams. It spat out about 11,000 lines of code, according to Anthropic, and it only stopped running when it had completed the task. Now, it's important to understand that this isn't comparing apples to apples. So for Meter Research, what's being measured is the task duration for humans, right? And we're also looking at the chance that the AI has, for example, a 50 chance of succeeding at that task. We can also click over here and look at what it has an 80% chance of succeeding. So for example, this is saying that Grok 4 can complete a task half of the time, right? 50-50 chance of successfully completing it. That would take a human being roughly 2 hours to do, just under 2 hours. So what we're talking about here isn't the same thing, but we can see how it's sort of similar, right? So here we're seeing the latest AI model from Anthropic running 30 hours straight to autonomously complete a task. Now, I'm sure eventually Meter Research will plot where that falls on this chart, right? So they have to test it with however they measure it, but I feel like that's going to land very high, probably a lot higher than expected. So this is from AI Digest. So this is pointing to the Meter Research saying that, the length of coding tasks AI can do is increasing. It's doubling roughly every 7 months. Here's the problem. If we're looking at it from a more recent perspective, if we're looking at this red line that's only measuring the progress since 2024, well, it's doubling every 4 months, meaning that the trend is accelerating. So that's point number one to kind of understand and keep in mind, that this is falling in line with this idea that the long horizon task that these AI agents can do, it just keeps increasing, keeps doubling. So it's not going up a little bit, it's jumping rapidly. So we're no longer talking about it coding up a quick little app and us having to nudge it along every single time. It can now finish multi-day jobs. And another big thing that this new AI model did that turned a few heads is this. So this is Emad. So yesterday he posted, at some point in the coming years, it will be more efficient for code models to rewrite any normal piece of software from scratch. The existing code base is the prompt. Then later to just skip the programming language entirely and straight compile. So he's saying, in the coming years. The day after that tweet went live, of course, Claude releases, and Emad had to update saying, then later to just skip the programming language entirely. That's what he's quoting his original tweet saying. It turns out later was the day after this tweet. And what he's referencing is what's been announced with this Anthropic release. It's an experimental and new way to design a software where Claude builds whatever you can imagine on the fly without writing any code first, right? So it's creating software in real time, responding, adapting to your requests as you go. So this is a new approach. This isn't a new idea, although I think this is the first example of this idea kind of being pushed live. But Elon Musk has talked about this idea that, any software you need will just be created live, like on the fly. It's not going to be pre-made, No longer are we going to have sort of this software as a service, at least the traditional model that we used to have. These things will create whatever you need, whatever software, whatever functionality you need, real time on the fly. And this is kind of showing us that right now. All right, with all that said, let's dive into it. So September 29th, 2025, Claude Sonnet 4.5 is live, and it's the best coding model in the world according to Anthropic. But as you'll see, they're not just saying that. There's basis for that. It's the strongest model for building complex agents. It's the best model at using computers, and it shows substantial gains in reasoning and math. Code is everywhere. It runs every application, spreadsheet, and software tool you use. Being able to use these tools and reason through hard problems is how modern work gets done. So they mentioned some of the new features that they're shipping. So there's updates to Claude Code. They've added checkpoints, which was a much needed addition. They do have a native VS Code extension. This is the thing that I think goes along with that ability to code for 30 hours autonomously, context editing feature, and memory tool. So of course, every model has a certain context window, sort of the total amount of stuff that it can keep in its working memory, so to speak. And once you start approaching it or exceeding it, you start running into issues. So when you're building more complex tasks, as you approach that sort of effective context window, you're stuck choosing between cutting agent transcripts or degrading performance. And this new feature, this context management that they're adding, solves some of these issues in two ways, helping developers ensure only relevant data stayed in context and valuable insights get preserved across sessions. They do give you this sort of presentation about kind of how that works. And I love what they're testing it on. It's actually getting these agents to play Catan, right? So the Settlers of Catan. Obviously, if you play these long games over time, there's tons of things you need to memorize, kind of like where the board is, what other players have done. And here it is, Settlers of Catan. So it looks like there's a number of players, and this is the memory that the agent has to keep within its context window. The AI agent has to remember the opponent's strategies, right? So their various trading behavior, like hoarding a brick and refusing trades, their current stockpiles, etc. This new context management sort of summarizes what's been happening, removes the older, less relevant stuff, compressing that sort of context window, the amount of context in there, compressing it, leaving more room for new important context to be added. So this effectively greatly increases the context window. This is probably the biggest thing that's contributing to that 30 hours autonomous work runs. We'll see if that's the biggest thing or there's a number of new innovations that went into it, but certainly this seems like it's a big part of it. In the Claude apps, we've brought code execution, file creation like spreadsheets, slides, and documents directly into the conversation. And we've made the Claude for Chrome extension available for Max users who joined the waitlist last month. If you were on the waitlist, if you got that thing, congratulations. So it sounds like it now is able to interact with anything online. So Google Sheets, for example, Google Docs is one of the examples they gave, where you click the little button that appears in the Chrome tab up above there on the right. So you can be in Google Docs, click the Anthropic icon, the Claude icon, and say, okay, interact with Google, with this Google Doc, and do, you prompt it to do whatever you want it to. This is a pretty cool feature because now you can have your own model, your own agent with memory of you and kind of knowing the context about you to interact with various websites, potentially completing tasks on your behalf. I haven't messed around with it yet, but definitely excited about stuff like this because I feel like it could really compress a lot of my work that I'm doing online. Hopefully, as these things get better and find out more about you, you'll be able to outsource more and more actual tasks that you need to have done online to those agents. Now, obviously, there are privacy questions. I'm sure a lot of people are going to have a lot of questions about what is done with that data, how secure is this? But simply from a productivity perspective and automation perspective, I think this is definitely going to be very exciting. Also, surprisingly, this is the most AI-aligned model that Anthropic has ever released. So there it is. This is the most aligned frontier model we've ever released, showing large improvements across several areas of alignment compared to previous Claude models. Here's from their system card. So they partnered with Apollo Research. We just interviewed the CEO and founder of Apollo Research. Look for that interview dropping very, very soon. Absolutely incredible. Gives you really a glimpse into what's happening behind the scenes as these frontier AI labs are trying to make sure that these models don't do nefarious stuff like scheming and lying and hacking, and how difficult that problem is. So we talk about OpenAI and Anthropic. But notice here, they're saying that in their evaluation, so this is Apollo Research, so this is kind of a third-party AI safety testing institute, so they're not sort of affiliated with Anthropic in a sense that they work together, but they're separate groups of people, right? So this is a third party that tests, that red teams a lot of these models, and they do it for OpenAI, they do it for Apollo Research, etc. And this is according to Apollo Research, is saying this model employs strategic deception in fewer circumstances than comparison models. And we'll probably dive deeper into the system card in a different video if we have time. But the point is, seems like it's the most aligned model so far. And how well does it do on coding tasks? Well, it's the number one in SWE Bench verified. So SWE Bench is software engineering benchmark verified. So these are real world scenarios from GitHub that are selected that are real world issues, solving various tasks that have known solutions by human experts. And here they're using a 500 subset of these problems, and all the models kind of get tested to see how well they do. This is seen as one of the top benchmarks for coding. I'm not saying it's the one and only, there's other ones, but this one kind of seems to be the one that more and more people are pointing to as like, this is a really good measure of how well these models do at coding. What's interesting is somebody else is putting together an even sort of next level benchmark, because as you can see here, this one's getting a little bit saturated. We're approaching that, we're in the 80s now. So we probably need something that's much more complex so we can gauge the progress of these models. So in the number one spot, we have Sonnet 4.5. In the number 2 spot, we have Opus 4.1. In the number 3 spot, we have Sonnet 4. So 1, 2, and 3 are Anthropic models, followed by GPT-5 Codex, followed by GPT-5, followed by Gemini 2.5 Pro. It also shows a significant leap in the ability to use the computer like you and I would, by clicking on stuff, by seeing what's on the screen. So on OS World, a benchmark that tests AI models on real-world computer tasks like searching and navigating e-commerce websites, etc. So it's leading at 61.4. So I haven't actually looked at OS World, the actual rankings. This is it as far as I can tell, os-world.github.io. So they have their paper, data, docs, code, etc. OS World benchmarking multimodal agents for open-ended tasks in real computer environments. So prior to this release, it sounds like Claude 4 Sonnet was sitting at the number one spot from July 27th, 2025 with let's call it a 44% success rate. Then notice most of the other ones are either third parties like ByteDance or DeepMiner. So they're not one of the frontier labs right there. This is from a paper, Wang et al. So these aren't like the frontier labs that we know. If we scroll all the way down in the 13th space, looks like computer use preview is sitting at 31%. And that's the OpenAI model. I've used it. That one was pretty good. I didn't think that any of these were as good as sort of human use, human using a computer. Computer use preview was pretty impressive. The fact that Claude 4 Sonnet is sitting at 40, let's say call it 44%, 43.9. So let's call it 44, is sitting there as a general model at the number one spot is impressive indeed. But what they're saying now is that Sonnet 4.5, this new model, is now at 61.4. That's a huge, huge leap, and I'm really looking forward to testing it out. That's levels above anything else that's out there. So I'm definitely looking forward to testing it out. And they're talking about the general model, not some scaffolding. The actual model is that good at navigating the computer. And the Claude 4 Chrome extension puts these upgraded capabilities to use. They have a little demo here where somebody's playing a video game and the significant other, I'm guessing, is like, hey, did you do that thing I told you to do? This is the story of my life. And so you go, oh, wait, actually running behind. So you click the Anthropic, the Claude icon, and you're like, hey, Claude, I'm procrastinating on doing the thing I'm supposed to be doing. Can you fix it and then send an email to whomever is requesting it? And so Claude gets to work, scrolls down, So it looks like it pulls the information from the docs that are needed, goes to Gmail, crafts the email that is needed. And there was a little checkbox there where the user had to click like, do you want me to do this action through your email? So the user had to click, yeah, go for it. And then this thing is written out and sent. Then we're looking at a home budget. We're updating our total budget in Google Excel spreadsheets, whatever it's called, to make sure that the proper pricing for the contractors is updated there. So it's interacting with email, docs, spreadsheets, and this is impressive, I gotta say. Then we click send and the thing is sent out. So it looks like we have the Claude for Chrome, and this research preview is where Claude can navigate, click buttons, and fill forms right in your browser. Max users get early access to test, explore, and shape what's next. For most of this year, I was signing up for the max plans of all of the models: OpenAI, Google, Grok, Claude. And boy, does that get expensive. So finally, I decided to cancel them all or downgrade. But it looks like we're back in the model release season. So once again, I'm going to be signing up for all this. I may never financially recover from this, but I do this for you. That deserves a like, doesn't it? Hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. So I just signed up for that. Hopefully we'll get access to it. It sounds like there's still a wait list, so we'll see. And so here's the charts. So it looks like agentic coding, Claude 4.5 is at the top, or another Claude model is at the top, but it's better than GPT-5 and Gemini 2.5 Pro. It seems like agentic terminal coding, it's number one. Agentic tool use in retail, airline, telecom, it's number one or so close to it. Again, the things where it's not number one, Claude 4.1 Opus is number one. Computer use, staggering performance. Like, this is absolutely insane how high it is. Because keep in mind, we looked at OpenAI's computer use model, a specific model, not a generic model. It was at 31, 32%, something like that. So it's just in a whole different level of computer use. Next, a list high school math competition. So they're not looking great at that, but they've been saying that they're not focusing on maximizing those benchmarks. So they're not trying to tweak these models so that they're good at hitting certain benchmarks. They're trying to get them to be really good at real world use cases. So to me, these results, and Sweet Bench Verified, I mean, to me, that's much more impressive. I'm not discounting the model's abilities because it doesn't do quite as good at the AIME or the GPQA Diamond, etc., etc. Financial analyst as a finance agent, so I'm not familiar with this benchmark, but they're dominating it at 55.3. So really, so far, really impressed with this model. Obviously, we have to use it. I haven't tested out quite yet, so I just subscribed back for the max plan, so we'll be testing that out. But Cursor has great things to say about it. So Windsurf looks like it's live. You're able to use it in Windsurf, because remember, there were some issues there with OpenAI and Windsurf and Anthropic. So sounds like they either fixed them or there's some other arrangement, but this new model sounds like it's live on Windsurf for those of you that use that program. Interestingly, Netflix has some good things to say about it. Looks like there's a department at Netflix called Gen AI for developer productivity, and looks like they're using this model. Again, it seems like Anthropic is really looking to target that sort of enterprise coding sector. So this definitely falls in line with kind of, I think, what they're targeting, like being at companies at like Netflix and all the other companies that code. And this one, HackerOne, I'm gonna assume that's what that says. So it looks like it improved the security agents by 44, improving accuracy by 25. Thomson Reuters looks like it helps them on the complex litigation tasks. And Norges Bank Investment Management, so for complex financial analysis, looks like this model delivers investment-grade insights that require less human review. Probably this is a good time to mention that the founder of Anthropic, Dario Amodei, they've been publishing their economic index. Stanford did a paper on it, kind of following up on it, and their findings are a little bit bad, scary, kind of troubling maybe. And that is that the usage of these models, it's really targeting those first years that people take on their career path in a lot of the white collar job environments. So at the office, legal analysis, finance analysis, etc. So the people aged 22 to 26, kind of like when you're out of college, you're taking those first few years. Maybe you're an intern on a company, you're just out there kind of learning, doing basic grunt work. These chatbots, it seems like they have a pretty big impact at that particular section of the work. People that have a decade, 2 decades of experience working, they tend to get better with chatbots. They're more effective, more efficient. But those people that are just starting out, it seems like it really decreases the demand for those people. So I kind of want to commend Anthropic for publishing that research, because obviously that's not, if they were just in it for the money, they didn't really care about the impact they were having, they probably want to keep that quiet. But they're publishing it, they're letting Stanford and others use that data to do their own research. So definitely props to them for at least making this visible, making this sort of transparent, for caring about this stuff. And next, they also talk about the Claude Agent SDK, software development kit. They're making that available to developers, and it's the same infrastructure that powers Claude Code, but it shows impressive benefits for a very wide variety of tasks, not just coding. As of today, you can use it to build your own agents. The Agent SDK gives you the same foundation to build something just as capable for whatever problem you're solving. Then there's this bonus research preview. So this is that Imagine with Claude, right? So earlier we talked about Emad that was talking about this idea that LLMs, these AIs, will just kind of dream into life the software that you're looking for. It's not even going to develop code necessarily. So this is the thing that's shipping with Claude Sonnet 4.5. So they're calling this a new way for AI to build software. They're calling it Imagine with Claude. So as you can see here, Claude is thinking about it and almost like dreaming it up into life in real time. So Claude generates software on the fly. No functionality is predetermined. No code is pre-written. So I'm not 100% sure what they're doing exactly. Hopefully they're going to put out a paper or something that kind of explains this. I think there might be a video on it. So I am curious to know exactly what's happening behind the scenes. So let's just quickly do a few tests. So we'll use one of their pre-made stuff, and then we'll do our own custom thing. So this is create a nostalgic desktop computer game that a user can interact with. So it's thinking through it, and there it is, Brick Breaker Classic. And so it's being designed, and it does have a sort of desktop environment. This, people have talked about this before. Just off the top of my head, Elon Musk has talked about it. I think it's right before he talked about the release of Macro Hard, his competitor to Microsoft, apparently. So Macro Hard, Microsoft. I think the first product should be called Doors. Get it? Doors? No? Okay, I'll continue. But the idea was that there's this sort of almost desktop that the large language model creates in real time. So you can imagine the internet that's created in real time for whatever you're searching for, whatever software you need is created in real time. So nothing is pre-built, predetermined, just whatever functionality you're looking for is built in real time. So here, as you can see, this is Brick Breaker Classic. So let me see, does it work? If I click start, so it's thinking. So that's interesting. So it almost seems like it's creating it in real time, even as I'm playing it. It's thinking through it and replacing all this stuff, like the position of the ball. As far as I can tell, like in real time to determine where the game goes, the ball keeps wobbling for some reason. It's a little bit bizarre. I also noticed that every once in a while it kind of shows you a little progress bar within the text, showing you there it is, that the context window, right? So 23% it said. So as it's doing, it's kind of showing you, okay, here's the context window. Am I able to move the paddle at all, left and right? So interesting. I mean, I definitely want to know more about this. I want to know what's happening behind the scenes. Like, what is it doing? So it's not writing code, okay, but it is building in real time. So we'll keep testing it in the future. Right now, I got to say, I want to understand more about what it's doing. So as far as I can tell, it's literally saying, okay, so the ball went behind the paddle, so the user should lose a life, right? So it seems like it probably, yeah, so now I have 2 lives instead of 3. So it's just literally dreaming up this game in real time. There's no code. That's bizarre. That's interesting to think about. So I guess you can imagine a smart, fast LLM in the future doing something like this to just create a game in real time without code. It's just sort of like, the user clicked the fire button. What should happen? Oh, this should happen. And sort of just like creating that on the fly. That's interesting, bizarre, but interesting. Anyways, so that's the initial announcement. So this has been live for just a few hours. I haven't tested it yet, but I like a lot of things about this. If you're interested, if you have the Max plan, check out, get on the wait list for that Chrome plugin, because it sounds like it's going to be able to navigate the web for you, and it's the best available thing for that right now. So if that's something that you're interested in, check it out. You need the Max plan, and you need to be on the wait list. Also, if you're on the Max plan, you can check out Claude.ai/imagine to try that Imagine with Claude thing that we just took a look at. And we're going to be checking out Claude Code. We're probably going to test it out in Cursor or Windsurf as well to see how well they work, how well they compare with the other models. I'm very curious if I can replicate something like this, where it runs 30 hours running by itself to code a chat app. Dan Shipper at Every has a quick vibe check, so he's been using it for a few days. He's saying faster than GPT-5 codecs, smarter and more steerable than Opus 4.1. It's quite good at long-running agentic tasks. And he used it for 3 spreadsheets that they use to run Every, our profit and loss accounting, our weekly performance tracker, and our consulting tracker. And it easily wrote a Word doc with a third quarter investor update that I could have sent with only a few minor tweaks. Kieran found that it solved a bug in Core in about 20 minutes that Opus 4.1 couldn't crack at all. So let me know what you think. If you had a chance to try it out, post a comment and let me know what you think of it. Certainly seems like a very solid, very big step forward. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.